that day, I was actually home for the day. I'd finished work and I'd gone over to my neighbors, which just was right next door, and we were doing Christmas baking. So we were making meat pies to begin with, and so because I had a new stove, we wanted to use it, so we were baking at my house and then we were baking at Shannon's house. And so we done our first batch. I'd put them on top of the stove, covered it up with a tea towel, and headed back, put the next batch in, headed back to Shannon's to make some more. By the time I came back 20 minutes later, when I walked into the house, the kitchen was already on fire. Scout jumped up on the stove, I guess, because the meat pies were there, and turned the element on. That's our guess. We actually don't know for sure, but the fire definitely started on the stove. I tried to put it out. I wasn't able to in the first few minutes, and at that point I decided to get my animals out of the house. We had cats, kittens, and dogs, so I wasn't able to call 911 because we have no cell service and my phone was upstairs, and I was too afraid to run up because the fire went really fast. Had to run back to the neighbors to call 911. We did grab all the fire extinguishers from the store, but I called actually Jason and my sister because they all live really close. By the time they got here, it wasn't
much left to save.
No.
Went up really fast. Fire department did come, but it takes like 20 minutes for them to come. The biggest thing was trying to save the neighbor's house because the wind was very strong and the fire was intense, and they almost lost the neighbor's house because of that. That's one of the problems with living out here and having nothing close by.
All I saved in the entire fire was a box of my mom's pictures that was in a Rubbermaid tub because there was a kitten hiding behind it, and my son's pills. I didn't grab my purse, my passport. I didn't think of anything. You don't think of anything like that. But that night already, the community was already here. Like literally the whole town was already here. Aaron, it kind of makes me a bit emotional. My kids were surrounded by their friends. Paige was actually at college in Alberta, my daughter, and she hopped in her truck and drove the 12 hours to be home. But already that night, we definitely felt the love of our community. And my other home was insured, but because it was 4,000 square feet, I couldn't afford replacement insurance because they wanted me to insure it for $1 million. Well, that was almost $400 a month, and when I was on my own with my kids, I couldn't afford that. So I sat down with my insurance broker, and we came up with a one-time price, a one-time buyout. And at the time, it was enough money that I could have bought a house in the area. Unfortunately, that was 11 years ago, or probably 12 or 13 years ago now, and the cost of housing has gone up so much that now it wasn't enough money. So I did get that insurance money, and what it did was allow me to pay my mortgage, and then the content money and all the money I was given gave me enough of a lump sum that I paid cash, 50% cash and 50% I have a mortgage on this house. So it wasn't enough for me to rebuild. You know, in hindsight, I should have reevaluated, and even contents, we had way more contents than what we were insured for, unfortunately. How did you find us a place to stay?
I knew some people that had a farm north of Roselle. Phoned them and said, hey, sister's house burned down. And they said as fast as she needs a place to stay, start moving stuff in. So it was only, I guess,
the next morning
she had a place that she could stay close by, which was handy, obviously.
Yeah.
And then from there, the fire department came back the next morning. I guess we waited till springtime, right, to start digging here.
Yeah.
So she could start rebuilding.
So I was really lucky to have a brother that has all this equipment. And so he, along with sometimes, well, his family for sure came, and Suzanne, they volunteered their time and their effort to help me do all that, because that would have cost thousands of dollars just to even start the cleanup of a fire. It's actually quite a mess. And then they came back in the spring and they prepared the whole area for the house, and we packed it, and Jason was definitely integral in some of the first steps in getting the house. So then at that point, I mean, you just have to move ahead, and within 2 days, there was Ian Dick came and talked to Jason and said, Uncle John and I would like to help build her house. And I don't know if anybody else necessarily approached you at that point, but then Jason started looking for help, and I know he had talked to contractors in the area, and my family really stepped in, and Paul Martins, he stepped up and said that he would be the general contractor. The most incredible part is they said they would do it, and they did it. They actually showed up. They showed up time after time. This house was built really on Saturdays by the community. I met people that, I knew who they were, but I didn't know them. And sometimes neighbors met their neighbors because they met here on a Saturday, and they got to know each other building my house. So my house was designed by a local lady at Roselle, completely for nothing, just by sitting down and having a conversation, and it was literally built for me and my family. It's exactly what we needed. I love it. It's modern, and it gives me a real open, airy feeling inside. And my old house had 11-foot ceilings, so there's something familiar about the high ceiling in this house that I really love. So it just came to be that in the spring of 2022, we started building on Saturdays, and literally all of last year, every Saturday we'd come together with any random group of people and do whatever the next job was. When it came to putting on the siding, which had to wait for spring, it was another one of those crazy, beautiful moments that I got a message from another person in the community, not what I'd been in contact with through the build, that came and he offered, and he did all my soffit fascia, and he helped me do all my siding. And he had a week off because it was his daughter's wedding, and just wanted to bless me. There's just lots of beautiful stories throughout my house. The kitchen is its own beautiful story because Jason had his kitchen redone by his neighbor. His name is James Stahl. And so after the fire, I asked James to come over and give me a quote. And so when James came over, he said, let me see what I can do. He works for Springfield Cabinetry in Winnipeg. And when he went to them, he called me. He said, Cindy, it looks really good. Like, they're going to give us a deal. I said, that's awesome. And the next day he called me to say, are you sitting down? I said, yeah. Why? He said, they want to do your entire kitchen for nothing. They want to gift you your entire cabinet. So it wasn't just my kitchen. It was my laundry room, and it was both bathrooms. It was all the countertops, and it was probably worth just under $30,000, and they just wanted to give it to me. Well, they said to James, would you like to do this for her? And James said, yes, I would. He said, then we'll do it for you, because they've never met me. I'm nobody. But James was an important person to them. So my entire kitchen and my kitchen cabinets did come from the Hutteray colony, but it was thanks to James, who showed up and installed them. This house just has a beautiful story of community and of people working together. And when I thanked them and actually asked them to come for this interview, they all thought they didn't do enough. You know, we could have done more. And I'm like, well, you did enough. I have a house. But no, John Dick's exact words were the community needed this, that it's good for a community to have a project to work on together just to become better and stronger. And I thought that was true. It's what I saw. You know, my mailman helped me hang all my doors and did my backsplash. Like, Airy, that's his name. And so now I know how to hang doors. It's a really special house, and I know that when I sit in there, sometimes I look around and I go, like, this is mine, because it's so much more than I feel like, I won't say that I deserve, but I feel like I need. But yeah, we're happy and we love this house.
Talk to me about your first night in the house.
First night in the house. It was good, but I actually dreamt about the fire that night. You know, crazy but true. But I think it was just, you know, being at a new place. And now I definitely feel like it's become more home. There's still lots of white walls, and it still needs lots of touches to make it feel like home, like pictures of my kids. But some things I haven't replaced yet. To be honest, I didn't really buy hardly anything new. I used all the used stuff that was given to me by the community, because that made it feel more like a home. And then just having the dogs and my daughter live with me, that's what makes it a home. And then having Easter. That was a really big deal. It actually is not a big house, but it fit us beautifully. And we're able just to be together and laugh. And we learned through fire that it's not where, it's who you're with that matters.